and welcome to the 2020 online Athens Women's Football Summit. Do you ever wonder whether women's football is really good business? Have you ever contemplated getting into the business of women's football, but just can't pinpoint what's in it for you? My name is Panagiota Tufariello, and together with my guests today, Tijana, Zivkovic, and Paulo, Jorge, Verissimo, we will explore within the context of player presentation in the women's game whether women's football is good business and what you can potentially gain if you decide to get into it. Tijana is a former track and field professional athlete and a sports law attorney from Serbia. She is certified to represent players before the Court of Arbitration for Sport, FIFA, UEFA, and FIBA. Tijana has extensive experience with high-profile transfers, doping matters, representation of federation, and, of course, women's development in football. Paulo Jorge Verissimo, my second guest, is the CEO and founder of K-Series Football Management, located in Portugal. K-Series is in the business of football, player scouting, and international sport affairs. Prior to forming K-Series, Paulo was a talent scout and assistant to Pini Zahavi, the Israeli football agent known for his involvement in the change of ownership of Chelsea and Portsmouth, and for his work as a football agent, especially the record-breaking transfer of Rio Ferdinand. Paulo currently represents a number of women football athletes. I'm going to start with Tijana. Tijana, when did you first become involved in women's football and women's development in football?
Well, I need to be honest, I started doing that recently. I mean, seriously, in serious way, because with Corona gave me more opportunities to get in touch with important people like you, and on the first place, of course, Marius, and that because I know he's one of the most influential people in women's football in the world. So for me, I couldn't reach him. So with Corona and online opportunity, and when I met him after the first talk, I think we talked for 2 hours. And after that talk, I thought, oh my God, this is a person who is really interested in changing the game and by that changing the world. So I need to, he's my life guru in this matter. So I'm very happy to meet him, and I'm very happy that I'm part of this huge family who is fighting to bring joy and to improve women's football in general.
I'm just curious, when you talk about women's development in football, what exactly do you mean by that?
First of all, I would have to say the changing mentality. Girls' perception, parents' perception, boys' perception about girls, the whole gender norming and stereotyping. So we are smashing that, and through smashing that, we are seeing massive growth in participation. We need to inspire girls and women to join football, and we need to, it's a normal thing. There is no, you will never compare, for instance, someone who is playing handball. You will never say, oh, man handball and women's football, women's handball. But yeah. Here, so to increase participation, of course, showcase female football, spark excitement, attract media attention, of course, sponsors, brands, promote role models like Paulo, engagement of families and communities. So I can talk forever in this way.
What is the reason that you decided to get involved in the women's development of football?
I think it was 10 years ago when I was at my faculty, and of course I didn't want to know what I want to be when I grow up. Sure. But I read one article, it was a forum, I think, where they said they wrote female football players are always nagging about poor economy, and perhaps they should apply for funding from the Disabled Association. And I say, this cannot be possible that someone is writing about it. It was 2009 or 8. I'm not sure exactly what was the year, but they wrote the title was Women's Football Disabled Sport. So, and that, imagine after 12 years, I still remember.
Of course, that
in that forum, I read that female football players are described as slow, ridiculous, childish, physically weak. They know absolutely nothing about technique. They cannot kick the ball properly. So it was in that way. So there are extremely poor players. That was the point, and it was too annoying to watch for them. So I started Googling, and I was looking around me, and I didn't know anyone who is playing football. I mean, my female friends. So I wanted to be part of that, but we are not well educated. We people even at my university, they didn't taught us what to do, how can you contribute to that movement, where to apply, where to research, or what to research. So I had zero knowledge, and I left that like that. And after my university, after finishing bachelor studies and after a master's degree in sports law, I realized that I have also been struggling with that stereotype, women, men, and even today when I attend meetings, they are surprised. I mean, if you look decent, and let alone if you are smart, and if you know about football. So then after, I mean, I think that's my advantage, because after a while they started taking me seriously. And I saw, I mean, if I have a problems, of course, female players in football and in other sports will have same issues. So how can I help them? And literally I asked Marius, how can I help and what can I do? So that's the reason I think at the first place, it has to be education. You need to educate people. I mean, of course, you will see that something is wrong, but you don't know. You will just leave that aside, and you will stay home and do nothing. But we need to engage. I mean, we're talking, and while talking, I think this year is much better, and especially after the World Cup last year. And I think every year it's better and better. So there is still work to be done. And there is even more and more people are choosing to watch women's football. We heard during the first day when Emil told us that he would rather bring his kids to women's game than males. So I will wrap it up. I will not bother you with this long answer. We will, of course, continue talking, but there is no better place to get involved in women's development in football than here in Athens Women's Football Summit. Here you will acquire knowledge, skills, connection you need, and everything you need to launch, first of all, your personal career in football. And as I said, you can change the world by changing the game.
Wow. Paulo, I understand that you are an agent for women football players, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So what is your reaction to Tijana's statement of this article that she read in 2008, 2009, where this author had the courage to state that women are slow, that women, I'm paraphrasing, of course, that women are slow, that women cannot play football, that women should not be playing football. How, as an agent of women football players, do you perceive women football players?
I think it's completely ridiculous, that article.
Okay.
Because we had also some comments from former players, men players, from former coaches, some actual coaches here in Portugal. They already state that women's football is nothing to do with men's football. Okay, everybody knows that, because the physiologies of a man is completely different from a woman. But we can take many positive things from the women's football and from the women's game. When you watch a women's game, you enjoy. You are happy. You are not in pressure. When you go to a men's game, you are like, oof, 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 we have to win. We have to kill. It's a stress, especially if you are a supporter. You are always suffering. If you go to a women's game, you are enjoying the moment. You are speaking with the family, speaking with the supporters. Everyone is happy. That's the big difference. And that's why I say it's ridiculous.
Forgive me for interrupting you, but as athletes, do you believe that women are necessarily slower than men? These were comments that were made almost in a negative manner. How does a woman athlete, a woman footballer, in your experience as an agent, right? How many women do you represent? How many women football players do you represent?
50 players.
50 women football players. And these 50 women football players must be at the top of their game, right?
Yes.
Are they fast? Are they nimble? Are they well trained? Tell me a little bit. How do you perceive them as athletes?
They are 100% professionals. Doesn't matter the age. If they have 29 years old, they are top professionals with 29, like they are when they are 14 years old. They work the same way that the men work. They do the same things that the men do. So there's no difference. Of course, we cannot compare the context. One thing is a men's game. Another thing, it's the women's game. And the comparisons that we have to do, it's between the women. Okay, we cannot compare men's game with the women's game. We cannot say that a woman is slower than a man. We cannot say that, never, because there's not a mixed game.
Right.
We have not a game with men and women in the same team. It's a women's game. So we cannot say that they are slower than the men. Some of them are even faster than some of the men. So we cannot speak about that. This is only bullshit, in my opinion.
I like that. Bullshit. Tijana, did you represent women football players? Have you ever represented women football players in any capacity?
Yes, I represented when it comes to a problem.
Okay, what kind of problems? What kind of problems?
The most often is with the agents here, who are not really agents, but they are acting as an agents. So you, of course, have lack of written contracts, or those contracts that I have seen in the past couple of months, and probably it's one author who just copy-pasted. So there is a contract, for instance, for a lifetime, which is in any law, in any country, impossible, and null and void. So when I see something like that, and especially those contracts are the ones, if they sign as a younger, because when you're 16, you don't have salary. I mean, I'm talking about this part of Euro, and we're still behind the Europe. And if you're 15, 16 years old, and if your parents coming from a small city, village, they will accept everything. And they're putting in those contract clauses or lifetime without possible to terminate percentage over any reasonable, I think it was 20-30%. And they don't even know how to write. They just want money. And the reason why I decided to focus on women in general, in food, not only in football, but in other sports as well, is because people who are doing for real this kind of job, they don't follow the money. They are doing this for a bigger purpose, because you will not get rich at first by doing this. And of course, money is in men's football. And I think that's the biggest difference. People who are as Paulo, he is now very successful agent with, as he said, 50 women's player. And now he can say that his working, that his work has been recognized and he can provide his living. But at first, it's easier always to do the other combination with the men's. And here, especially in Serbia, everything is, let's do a combination. Let's make a money. I mean, I hate that sentence when I hear. And first of all, they don't know how to make money. So first of all, you need a contract. You don't know that. And they just put fear, and they're putting us and putting a label on us as agents are bad, agents of fraud, because they are doing bad business. Normal agents, they will support you, your family. It's a personal relationship between a player and an agent. It's not only money-wise. So that's the huge difference, and it's misconception in general in the agents world. Paulo will know and tell more about from his side. But yeah, I will just leave it like this. The reason why I decided to be more involved with women's football, and first of all, my first call, family member called me of women player, Northern city in Serbia, and they said, "Can you help us? We are not sure what to do." I said, "Okay, send me a contract to see." And I saw, of course, lifetime contract, no possibility for termination. And when I called the player and I asked, "Okay, can you tell me how much is your salary?" She said that she never received it was, I think, 6 salary minimum or 8, I'm not sure. And that recently that they were giving them lunch packages, and she found a screwdriver in her meal. So like we're talking about basic rights and basic conditions. So that was for me the first thing that I wanted to help her. I don't want to make money. I mean, her salary is very low, of course. I will not get rich by taking a commission. But for me, it was firstly to help someone. And then if you are doing well, of course, I will be good as well at the end. But you need to put yourself in it and to develop that relationship. And at the end, of course, you will be successful like Paulo.
Have you ever represented a woman football player as an agent or an intermediary?
Question for me?
Yes, for you.
Yes. It was recent. That girl, I wanted to move her from the club because she didn't have like basic conditions, and now she's in Hungary. So I'm very happy for her. But as I said, I started recently, and I'm still building my own name, not only national, but also international level.
All right. Awesome. So you have, as a sports attorney, you are starting to migrate now, and you are starting to represent women football players more as an agent rather than as a sports attorney. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a mix because being a sports lawyer gives, I mean, you're not only a lawyer, you need to be an agent, you need to be everything. And Paulo as well, he probably have seen many contracts. He probably interact with many people. He was the only one who was changing those contracts. So not only me, he's an agent, but he's acting also as a lawyer, I assume.
Paulo, that's our segue. When did you first become an agent?
So I became an agent in 2015. Okay, when before I was a sports journalist during 10 years, and I decided to go to work with Pini Zahavi in 2011. Between 2011 and 2014, I was with him. And then I decided to build my company in 2015. After I learned everything with Pini, he's one of the best agents in the world, and working with top players, I decided to follow my dream as a kid. Because when I was a kid, I was listening the radio, the football matches. My father was listening when at the Sundays, and I was really happy for that. And I got addicted to football since I was a kid. And after that, I had to follow my dream. And with 14 years old, when I decided to choose my pathway, I decided to go to sports journalism. And after that, my goal was to go to work inside the industry. That's why I decided to go to
So when did you start K Series in 2015?
Yes, in 2015, yeah.
Do you represent both men and women football players?
Yes, I represent 23 players, men, and 50 women players.
So you represent more women. You represent more women football players than men football players.
Yes. What? Because tell me.
Well, I think you're going to answer my question. My question is
diversity.
What prompted you? What motivated you to start representing women football players as an agent?
I think it was an old dream. Also, in 2011, when I started to work with Zahavi, I had a project. I had an idea, because in the women's league, nobody was exploring the women's league in Portugal. And I was thinking to do a magazine to promote the girls, because I was a journalist. It was my area. I also did a magazine for the third league in Portugal. It was a success. It was a unique project. Nobody done it. I did that project, and it was a big success. I could not repeat that project because I didn't have time for that. And also, when Ricardo Monteiro is my women football department in K Series, put me the challenge to work the women's side, I was like, okay, let's go. Now I cannot stop. I will go ahead with this. And that's why we decided last year, May 2019, to launch our women's football department. It was really good, and I'm really happy for that.
So when you started in 2015 with K Series, at that time you started with a client base that was male, that they were only male. And it wasn't until 2019 that you migrated to retaining women football players, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
What was the turning point that made you decide in 2019 that it was time for you to start representing women football players?
I think it's because I started to see that the women's game was improving year by year, and we took a decision inside the company that we needed to change something in the company. We were dealing with many stuff, with many things, organizing games, etc. But we needed something different. And when we decided to go to the women's game, we felt like, okay, this is going to be fantastic for us. And I think if we do the right job, if we scout the right players, if we do an honest and transparent work with the players, I think we will have success. And I think we are having success, because after 1 year and a half, more or less, we have 50 players. We made a lot of deals. We are dealing with the top clubs in Portugal. We are dealing with the top clubs around Europe. We made international transfers also. We signed Portuguese players, Brazilian players, Icelandic players, American players, Canadian players, Norwegian, Scottish. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting other nationalities, Nigerian also. So we are here to help the women's game. We are not here to only get the money. Of course, this is an industry, and like all the industries, we have to make money. Everyone has to make money. The players have to make money. The clubs have to make money. And of course, the agents have to make money. It's not an industry where some party has to be out. No, everyone has to be inside the business. And that's why we decided to go inside the deals. It's not too much.
Yeah, well,
we are not in getting rich with this kind of deals, but we believe that in a long term we can do a great job with the girls, and we believe that the market will increase a lot.
Well, you said right at the outstart when I asked you what motivated you to go into women's football and to actually represent women football players. You said we evaluated it and decided this would be fantastic. Those were your words. This would be fantastic. What criteria did you use to determine whether this is fantastic? Or let me ask the question a different way. What exactly do you mean when you say this would be fantastic for us?
It's a new market.
In what way? In what
it's
way?
A new market. For the company, going inside the women's football is a new thing. We decided that we could do something different in the women's game, because in Portugal the things were more like amateur. Dealing with the girls, and some of the guys were stealing money from the girls. Some people didn't know how to work the market, so we decided to professionalize a little bit the things in Portugal. And of course, when I say it's fantastic, it's because the marketing, we know the men's market, and when I started the women's market, I changed as an agent. I became a different person because I started to listen to girls. And before, I didn't have the notion that they have so many good ideas, So I opened my mind. I started to see totally different things. And of course, we have to see the market. We have to see this not only as a personal side, but we have to see also in a business side. The women are much prettier than the men. So
some women might get offended at that, especially.
There's no doubt about that. So the commercial
it's funny because it's true.
No, but that's the truth. I don't have any doubt about that. So the market for commercial deals, it's much better for the women's game than for the men's game. Who are the consumers? Girls, women, not the men. The men don't buy. They don't go to the shops. They don't go buy things. Are the women that buy things. The women are role models in the world, and the world also has to understand that. And if we come inside to this market, if we go inside this market, we will not only profit financially with that, but we also profit helping the girls to be better and to reach the level that the men already reached and achieved in the men's football. You see that UEFA Champions League for the men has big television rights, big money coming inside the clubs. But why not to do the same with the women's side? Why not to give the same importance to the women's side? Broadcasting much more matches than they broadcast right now. They are starting doing it, but they need to do more. So these kind of things, when I say it's fantastic, it gave us a completely different motivation. The girls are much more available to do everything. They are available to do promotions. They are available to do photo shootings. They are available to go to events. They feel completely comfortable on everything. The men, I don't know, I don't want, I don't care. I don't want to do that. I have a practice to do. They are too tough, So the ladies brought us also a new image to the company, and I can say to you that we reborn with the women's football as a company.
So for maybe those companies who are in our audience this afternoon here in the United States and elsewhere, who are interested in perhaps sponsoring teams or clubs or players, what you're basically saying is that women are better brand ambassadors than men. Is that what you're trying to tell us?
Completely, 100%.
Okay, so if you have a better brand ambassador, you as a sponsor, more likely than not, will realize a better return on your investment if you invest in a player, a woman football player, as opposed to a man football player.
I tell you why, Betty, and to you, Tijana, also. The women's game, it's a clean game, at least for now. Okay, there's no corruption, there's no addictions, there's nothing. So it's a clean game. So if everyone comes to this game with a clean idea, this can be amazing. Everyone can profit, the companies can profit, the clubs can profit, and also the players can be rich with football. So it's only a matter of attitude and how to do the things in the women's game. What I have to say to other agents if they want to come to the women's game is, if they know already the men's game, don't bring the dark side of the men's game to the women's game. So just bring the white side. If they want to add something to the women's game, you are welcome. The market is open for everyone. Everyone can work in this market. We cannot be greedy. We cannot be only selfish, saying that, oh, I'm the only one in the market, so I have to do this, and I have to be the big agent in the world in the women's game. No, I don't want to be that. I want to be another agent in the world to help the women's game to achieve the right level that they deserve.
Who was your very first woman football player that you represented?
The first one that we have signed was Bárbara Marques. Is a very talented player in Portugal. She's really good player, and she was really unlucky in Sporting Club Portugal when she was there, because she had an injury and she didn't play for 1 year. But because I had a fantastic tip from a friend of mine, I said to myself, doesn't care. I don't care if she doesn't play already 1 year. She's good. Okay, let's sign her. And we did it. And at the end of the season, the girl was released from Sporting Club Portugal, and we took her to a project that we manage, and a smaller club, but she's doing really well. She already scored goals this season, so I'm very happy for her. And she can count on us every time that she needs.
Have you been successful in getting sponsorship contracts for her?
For her, not yet, because she needs to do a different kind of pathway until she gets the top level. But for other players, we already find some sponsorships like Adidas, like New Balance. We got some contracts for some of our players. And we are trying also. We also did a sponsorship with a nutritionism brand, Prozis, at the time, and we are working also with other sponsorships, because.
So as an agent, you're not only placing the football player for the women football players in clubs and teams, but you're actually also making sure you're generating additional revenue streams for these particular players.
Yes, that's what we want. Because above all, if I bring a sponsorship, a sponsor to a girl, I also can win money with that. So
of course,
I'm doing my job. So I have to be paid with that. So we don't only fix clubs for them. It's the main thing that they want. They want us to fix the best club, the best conditions, the best contract that they can get. But also we try to fix some sponsorships for them, because they need to feel valued. They need this kind of support, not only for the women but also for the men. We also do it for the men. So we try to do a service for all of them, that they feel happy, because if they feel happy, they will stay with us a long time. Yes. Even if they are not happy, and if they want to follow their pathway with another agent, okay, good luck. We don't have nothing to do with that. We did our part. At least I have my conscience in peace.
I understand. Do you sign contracts with your players?
Yes, with all my players, men, women, coaches, all of them have representation contracts.
So, Tijana, you mentioned earlier that you have occasionally represented women football players who have entered or are about to enter into contracts that are questionable, right? So I want to address, as an attorney myself, I'm always curious about what contracts, what terms, what clauses are included in contracts. So you said something about seeing contracts that have that the agents are looking for lifetime representation. If I'm a player and I'm about to enter into a contract with an agent, what should be the maximum term of what should be the maximum amount of time that is allowed by law in a contract with an intermediary, a third-party intermediary, or an agent?
I mean, 2 years. It's according to a regulation, a maximum of 2 years. But I also seen many contracts recently that they sign 10 years contract, but every 2 years they put like annexes, which is ridiculous. The whole concept is completely confusing for me. So I couldn't understand which one is in charge,
right.
Whether it's 2 year contract, but
right.
Again, you're covering 10 years contract. So it was a little bit confusing. And I've seen not only in women's, when it comes to women's players, but also when it comes to men's. I mean, it's the whole situation. First of all, Serbian football players still don't know how agents work and who are proper agents, who are licensed agents. People will tell you the story. Oh, don't worry, I will fix this. I will find a club for sure. Don't worry.
Yeah, so maximum 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And you said it is defined by regulation. Whose regulation is that? Who has set those regulations for agents?
FIFA and other national federation are adapting those requirements as a minimum. So there is, for instance, every national federation has right to put a certain percentage for the commission. In Serbia, I think. In Serbia, in concrete, it's 8%, and of course, I mean that's not the case.
Right. Obviously, if you have an agent who is unscrupulous and questionable, that agent is probably going to try to secure a higher commission, right?
Of course. I mean, here is they're representing players, and they're doing that. To cause a fear to the player. And there are lots of superstitions out that agents will run away. On the player side, that agents will run away with their money, because that happened. That was true story. Clubs also avoiding working with agents here as working with they will rather working with the player directly because it's a cheaper option. Sometimes, when you bring foreign players, clubs try to contact him or her directly to set his wages. So they goes around you. So as a result, the agent miss out on his or her commission. So most players and companies do not understand how much agents can help them out in terms of advertising. As Paulo had mentioned, sponsorship. Agents can also help players become commercially more viable off the field, as well through social media. So not only that the agent is there for commission, but most of them are yet to realize this fact. So all I can say is that I'm trying to change this and make football scene here in Serbia more commercially viable, let's say, and more attractive. And there is. I hope after this, Paulo and I will be able to sit together via Zoom or anything. So it's always much better when I have someone behind me who is a foreigner, who is a foreigner, that is the most important, because then parents and players are a little bit more secure that they will not be screwed, let's say.
Right, defrauded. I understand. Paulo, since you say you enter into contracts, typically, how long are your contracts? And typically, obviously things are going to change from player to player, but typically, is that what your commission is, 10%?
Yes. We signed 2 years representation contracts with the players. And usually the percentage that we put in all the contracts is 10%. Okay, so it's a normal commission. Doesn't matter if the player gets 1,000 euros or if he gets 10,000 euros. It's 10%. That's it. 10%. Only if we agree something different, and it depends. Sometimes you can agree something different with the clubs, and then the clubs will give to the player, and then the player will give to us. But it depends. Any case is a different case from the other.
Paulo, I have a question for you. Yeah. Have your representation of women football players affected your representation of men football players?
Yes.
How? I mean, they're not competing. You just said at the very beginning, right?
No, but that's the thing. There's no competition.
Exactly. There's no competition. So how have you been affected?
Yeah. Some of my men players, they left the company for different reasons. Some of them didn't want to renew the contract. Other ones, they cut the contract because they were not happy with our service. I don't understand why, but the things are like that. And some of them were saying that, oh, Paulo, the things are not okay. And also other agents and other people are speaking with me, and they are saying that now you are only focusing the women's game, so it's not good to be with you. So I have to go. So I think this is completely bullshit, So this is a very easy answer, a very easy justification to leave the agent, because I think the men were not prepared for this. We're not prepared for this boom in the women's football. They were not prepared. They were not ready mentally to see that the women players are completely different. They think in a different way. They don't envy the men. They want to be like the men. That's totally different. They are not jealous from the men. They want to be like them, but the men are jealous from the women, and this is really stupid, in my opinion.
Why do you think that the men are jealous of the women?
Because I think it's a matter of maybe promotion. Just for you to understand a little bit, in my company we have top players in the women's side. In the men's side, we have not top players. We have good players. We have very good players that can achieve a good level, but they cannot reach the top level. So at least for now. But the women, they reach the top level of women's football. So I think they see that, now that they are dealing with the top level in the women's side, they don't care about us. But it's completely different. They have to think in a different way, because if we are dealing with the top level in the women's side, we are dealing with the top clubs worldwide. In Germany, in England, in Italy, in France, in Spain, in USA, we are dealing with the top level. And if we are dealing with the top level in the women's side, maybe the men's side can take advantage from that. And the context that we have in the women's side can be good for the men's side, but they don't understand that.
It's very short-sighted on the part of those men who decide to leave.
Some of them, they understand, honestly, but there are some profiles that honestly I don't understand.
Okay, so this question goes to both of you. What are some of the most memorable experiences that you've had as agents of women football players? The most exciting, the most memorable. What experience that you can think of right now, and I know you're under the gun, is the most memorable for you? Tijana?
I was thinking that Paulo will answer the first.
Well, 50.
But he's too gentleman for this.
What is the most memorable experience?
When I started realizing that I can change something, someone's life, someone's career. And I mean, football is still male-dominated sport. I mean, pushing the game and women within it forward. So there was, for me, perception of when I started working this, is it a positive industry to work in as a woman? And to be honest, I think it's fantastic industry to work in, whether you want to be a lawyer, agent, referee. I mean, it's a huge industry. And like Paulo said, now it's perfect timing, because if you recognize now what can you do in this world, and people will, at the end, will more and more try to be part of our world, let's say. But when for me, most mesmerizing moment was when the parents that I helped for. I mean, I'm using word help because it was for me. Of course, we concluded agreement, and of course, I will get my commission in the future. But for that, I just said, okay, here is opportunity, take it or leave it. I will not force you to oblige to me with any contract, with anything. If she will be good in that club, and if she pursue her career well, of course, I will have advantages as well. And when they brought me eggs, cheese, and milk from their village, just to to see their happiness in their eyes, I think that's for me. I don't have that experience like Paulo, so I don't have many. I'm a pioneer.
Yes, no, do not underestimate, because those eggs and those cheese and that milk came out of their livelihood, right? And this was the best way that they could pay you. This was, and I just got goosebumps all over.
No, exactly. I had
a client who used to bring me fish.
No, it's really, I mean, I almost had tears in my eyes when I saw, because I also talked to my relative, and she told me that she wants to be a football coach. And I didn't know at all that she wants to be that. And then when I started talking to her, because here I don't talk to my family much about the work, because I'm not sure whether they understand exactly what I'm doing. They just see me all the time on the phone with my earphones.
Right.
So, and now she applied for university for being now she's studying for being a football coach. So for me, that's the most positive. If I can inspire anyone to do something which is not normal, let's say, I'm very happy.
And what about you, Paulo? What is the most memorable experience that you have had as an agent for women football players?
I had few, but the ones that I give much more importance is when they win something, they smile, they are happy, and when they conquer a title, they are completely enthusiastic, and I'm happy with that, and that makes me goosebumps. That kind of sensations make me completely crazy when I'm watching them to celebrate. But one of the moments that sometimes I get, and this happened several times, is when I close a deal with a player. Maybe 1 hour after, when they get home, they send me a message and they say like this: Paulo, thank you very much for what you gave to me. It's very important to have you on my side, and I'm very happy for this. And I start to be red, and I'm not there to say thank you, but I'm really happy for that. And I send a message to say thank you, and you always can count on me. So that's the things that make me happy in the women's side. I would love to have that in the men's side, but I have some examples that some players of mine, and I just finished a deal a few days ago, and my boy sent to me a message like Paulo, I'm very grateful for having you. It's fantastic to have you with me, and I'm his agent already 10 years. So these kind of things make all the difference in my life, and this is I will remember this all my life.
So just to wrap up, because I'm looking at my clock and we're kind of going a little bit over time, and I don't want to keep our audience longer than they want to on our show today. You, Paulo, do you believe that women's football is good business?
I believe 100%.
Why?
I believe 100% that is a good business.
Why?
When the big companies and the small companies understand that the women's game, it's much more lucrative and profitable for their companies, they will understand that why this is a so very good business to invest. Like I said before, the women is prettier. They are much more available to do everything. They are role models in the society. They are smart. They are intelligent. They speak well. They don't need a script to memorize what they have to say. They simply say, and they are natural, you know. And especially, it's a clean industry. There's no corruption. Until now, and I hope this will not happen. It will be very difficult not to happen, but the dark side, it's not yet in the women's football.
All right.
And what about the right side is here.
Do you believe that it's good business, women's football?
Of course, I think women's sports have come a long way on and off the pitch. So I think many brands realize the value of commercial proposition, let's say like that, separate from the male side of sport, as Paulo said. Football is no different. So I think those brands and organizations that acknowledge this development will be ahead in the race. So that's the reason why I said that it's perfect timing. Promoting gender parity is one of the strongest movements of our time in general. So brands that align with and generally care about this agenda will be rewarded by one of the most economically powerful segments of society, which is women.
Well, I don't know if you're aware of it, but last year when the U.S. women's national team won the championship, Nike ran out of apparel. They never anticipated the amount of sales that were precipitated as a result of the victory of the U.S. national team, women's national team. And the other thing that I don't know if you're aware, but there are statistics out there that clearly show that the women's soccer league, National Soccer League of the United States, is far outpacing the men's football or soccer league in the United States. They're either neck and neck or actually a little bit higher when we looked at the statistics last year. Well, there you have it, folks. You heard it from Paulo Verissimo, and you also heard it from Tijana, and I'm not going to pronounce your last name. Tijana, please say it for us.
Zivkovic. Or Zivkovic in Serbian. Right. So I will not force you.
You heard it, that women's football is good business. And in fact, there's plenty in it for you. Whether you're a player, if you have a good agent like Paulo and Tijana, who will be able to look out for your rights to make sure you're placed with the right team or with the right sponsor. Whether you're a club, you will get the best players for your team to bring the fans out and fill those seats for purposes of revenue generation. Or whether you're a sponsor or a brand and you're looking for the right ambassadors, the women's football sport, the sport of women's football is the best place to be. It's clean. You heard it. Women are better brand ambassadors. You heard it directly from Paulo. They have a better attitude. They are personally more available and loyal to represent the brand. So there is no question that there is something in it for you. And overlooking it will probably cost you more money than you can possibly imagine. I want to thank you both, Paulo and Tijana, for working with me and for being here with us and helping us, helping the Athens Women's Football Summit continue to promote the game. I know I'm very excited to be part of this team. I have my own reasons. I believe in women's parity as an attorney to men's parity between the sexes, even on the field. And I'm super, super excited at working with both of you going forward. And hopefully, once COVID is over, we will see each other again next year in Athens, Greece. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Betty, very much.
Thanks.